Well, hello, motherfuckers. Yes, I am so sorry. We were having a bit of technical issues. Welcome to Brick House Radio Live. Um, excuse me. Usually we have a new time, which is at 11 a.m. on Saturdays, but because of the time difference, I'm having a special show today. It's starting now. It actually was supposed to start at 1. Again, I apologize, but I'm here. Um, it is with Mr. Malachi Johns. So um, I hope everyone had a good Friday night. I want to give a special shout out to my other wife, Miss Kiana McCall. Happy birthday, Kiana. And happy birthday to my friend Kia. Her birthday was yesterday. We celebrated and everybody had a good time. So we are into the summer. So I hope everybody is bathing properly and using good hygiene and also still social distancing. I mean, because COVID is still out there, but still outside is wide open. Let me see if I want to bring this light down a little bit. It was a little bright there. There's a lot of bright there. Get a little light out the face. But yes, welcome to Brick House Radio Live. So with no further ado, because of the late intro, I will bring in Mr. Malachi Johns. We will discuss his beginnings with music and how things have progressed over and I'm going to show his age, over the decades. So let me go ahead and bring it. Ain't talking about
Hello, Rashidi.
What's going on, Rashidi?
Listen, what's up with you?
I know the weather is beautiful. Looking at palm trees. You got an ocean view, don't you?
No, not anymore. We never had an actual ocean. Well, that's not true. We didn't have an ocean view. It was kind of far away. But we've always lived, since we moved to Long Beach in 2018, we've kind of lived near the ocean.
Okay. Well, cool.
But not a view.
Well, greetings to you and your ginger beard. Look, that's why I had put my makeup on, because you can't be showing me up. I knew you have a hat on, and I knew that beard was going to be all bright and bubbly.
Shantae said hello before I forget. She just went to work.
Listen, let me tell you, because that was going to be my next question. Where's sis? Because this is Superhero Saturday. Yes, you are our superhero. We see you fight every day, Malachi, and I am such in awe having you on here. So, yes. So, Mr. Johns, please tell everyone who you are.
My name is Malachi Johns, and I don't know what else you want me to say. I'm from Annapolis, and I went to high school with Kamala, Karma, H2O.
No, nigga, we started in junior high school.
Oh yeah, that's right. Wait, did you? Because I went to both schools, so I went to Annapolis for 7th grade and Bates for 8th grade. So I always forget.
7th grade is when I met you, sir.
Okay,
when you had the skateboard hair. Listen, I would never forget the ACDC T-shirt.
Mm-hmm, yep.
The combat boots.
Yep. I was definitely a punk rocker. That's for sure.
Oh yes, the skater. Mm-hmm. But the love of music is what blossomed our friendship.
Indeed. Yep. So I've been doing music for a very long time, since you already kind of put my age out there. I guess I can say it, since I started playing guitar when I was 6, but playing classical guitar, and then I kind of got more into rock and funk music and stuff like that through elementary and middle school and all that stuff. And then, as you know, in high school, I started playing with Occupation, the Annapolis top GoGo band.
Yeah.
And then that just started the whole rest of my life.
Yes. So the start okay, so what made you decide that? Because I asked all musicians the same thing. What made you choose that instrument to start with?
It was really my my stepmother was a really good was a good guitar player and a really good singer, and my dad was like could play guitar like a couple of chords on guitar and could sing, but not very well. So I kind of always had that. You know, they always play guitar in the house and sang and stuff. And then I had like everybody had like different musical tastes. Like my dad would listen to like old blues stuff, like Lightning Hopkins and Lead Belly and stuff was his favorite stuff. And then, but he will also listen to classical, which annoyed the shit out of me then. But I feel like I'm him now because now when I'm working and I need to focus, I listen to classical music. Um, and then my stepmother, you know, she listened to like Joan Baez and like the Beatles and like all the 60s kind of folky, rocky type stuff. And then my mother was not really, I mean, it wasn't like she wasn't into music, but it didn't like drive her like it did with my stepmother and my
Everybody
dad.
else.
So yeah, so she would just listen to whatever was on the radio, and you know, it would be, you know, Michael Jackson, Earth, Wind and Fire, you know, Phil Collins, whatever, you know, like whatever was popular at the time. And so I kind of had that, you know, all of that diversity in styles when I was growing up. But yeah, I picked the guitar though because I didn't really pick it. It was kind of picked for me. Like my
You were
step,
groomed into it.
yeah, my stepmother got me. Actually, I started on a ukulele, which is like a little four-string guitar. I
Oh,
started, yeah, I started learning on that, and when I was in school, I went to early on at that time. I was going to Montessori school. You remember where that? It's in Arnold. Like if you're driving up Ritchie Highway and you look down the hill through the trees, there's a little white building right there, like right past the
mhm.
Safeway. If you're going towards like north towards Baltimore from Annapolis, and you pass the Safeway, and then right when you get past the Safeway, there's like a little side street. But if you just turn right and look down the hill, there's a little white building right there. Well, it was a Montessori school, and that's where I went, and that's where I started learning how to play guitar. So, yeah, on the ukulele, and then moved up from the ukulele to the guitar, and then it was on from there.
Yeah. Well, sir, speaking of being eclectic and diverse, we noticed, you're deep in go-go, my man. So let's let's talk about let's start off. You said occupation. So let me just give everybody a bit of a background. For those that don't know, occupation, O to the double C, P-A-T-I-O-N, is a go-go band that started by guys from Annapolis Senior High in Annapolis. And I was their first female security. So,
That is funny.
no, Cam, keep them niggas out of that practice. I got a lot of those pages, or got a lot of notes slipped in my locker. Like, yo, hey, listen, I'm not gonna lie, Malachi. I stopped a lot of baby mamas from coming to Jimmy's house, man. I did,
Oh,
man.
no,
I
best
did,
gate. That is funny.
and that's on mothers, on mothers. Like,
On
I
baby
love y'all.
mothers.
Baby mothers, real mothers, step mothers, all the mothers. Like for real. Like for real.
That's funny.
So what made you, because again, when our friendship started, as you said, you was a rocker, you was a skater, I remember you had the surgery, and that's how our friendship started. Because I was like, yo, why you had a hand like that? You
Oh yeah.
explained, and then you laughed because I knew about Bon Jovi. So
I forgot that. That's funny.
listen, it's certain stuff, it just sticks with me,
Yeah.
Malachi. It just sticks with me. So we move on. We're in high school, and there's a band. It's a go-go band. So how do you wind up in a go-go band, sir?
Well, it's funny that you bring. I not to draw it out too long, but it's funny that you brought up Bon Jovi because Bon Jovi was kind of like one of my personal like introductions to popular music that was not kind of fed to me from somewhere else or that I remember very distinctly waking up. Somehow I set my clock radio to, you know, wake me up to go to school or whatever, and it was the radio, and Bon Jovi Shot Through the Heart came on, and that was just kind of like my like, oh, I like this, where everything else was just kind of like, oh, this is cool. Like my dad's listening to this, my stuff, whatever. But that was like the first thing I was like, nobody showed me this. I liked it. And because of course I had like the guitar solos and stuff, and by that time I was already in the guitar stuff. But so anyway, it was just funny that you brought up Bon Jovi. But the way I got into GoGo was there was a guy that lived down the street from me. His name was Mark Smith, and he. I don't remember how he even found out I had it, but I had two little practice guitar amps, like little, I don't know, $30 amps or something like that, that I used to play my guitar through to practice and stuff. And he wanted to buy one. And he literally lived, this is when I lived in town on Madison Place, where the Lighthouse Shelter is, like I lived on that street. And he lived down more towards the West Street side, and I lived further up. I'm saying all this like specific to Annapolis stuff. I assume most of the people that watch the show are from Annapolis, or am I wrong?
Yeah, Annapolis. You forget your girl is worldwide.
I know, but I'm just saying like.
Yeah, I mean, it's DMV based. Let's say DMV.
I got you. Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah. Well, so all of your references, people can understand if they are from Annapolis or from the DMV area.
Right,
so
right.
Continue, sir.
Okay. So if you're not from Annapolis, if you're from like more the DC area, if you remember when Kenny from Styles Casino Sports, rest in peace, he had a little store on West Street in Annapolis called Styles, where he sold like, go-go CDs or tapes, whatever it was at the time, and like DDTP and Madness and the DC clothing lines. And that store was right on the corner of the street that I grew up on, and the street where, part of where I grew up in high school. And the guy Mark lived right, like close to that. So he wanted to buy one of these amps. So he came to my house right up the street so I could play through them so he could make sure it worked or whatever, because he's a keyboard player. So anyway, so we went to my house, we're teenagers, I'm playing guitar, and he's like, yo, I want you to be in my band, and I want you to be in this band, and blah, 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 blah. And he, I don't know how he convinced me, but he convinced me to come to this rehearsal, which was at Greenie's house in Bestgate, in his basement. And he got mad at me because on another podcast I made a joke, and because everybody voted for me to be in a band except for Greenie. And the way I remember the story is because he didn't want a white guy in the band, but he got mad at me for saying that publicly, because he's like, man, I'm not racist. I didn't, real what it really was about is
we were young.
Yeah, right. But the only reason I even tell that story is because he's one of my closest friends to this day. So that makes the story better. But anyway, he maintains that it was because, as you alluded to earlier, like I had long hair and I was a weird skateboard person and all that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't about being white. It was just about being not a great cultural fit as he saw it, which makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So, but in any event, he eventually voted me in. Everybody voted me in, and that's how I started playing in the band. Yeah, that was it. Oh, and then I didn't even like GoGo. Like that was the thing. I used to have this. Do you remember that big brown car I had? It was a 1975 Dodge Dart. Well, actually, I've had two big, huge brown cars, but this was the one I had it. One when I played in Northeast Groovers, a Mercury Monarch, and then one when I was in high school, which was a Dodge Dart. Which I wish I
see you at the Metro.
Yeah, well, no, this was before that. This was in high school.
No. Yeah, no, I'm talking about when you was with Groovers. That's when.
Yeah. No, that was later. Yeah, that was later. No, but I had a big Dodge Dart, but it had a system in it, and like it was cranking. And so I would give Greenie and some of the other Bestgate guys, I think DJ and I can't remember who else, but like rides home from school, and they would be like, "Put this tape in, put this tape, like put this," and it would always be like Northeast Groovers or Backyard or something. And I was not quite acclimated to the sound of GoGo yet. I was like, who is the guy talking to? Why is he talking over the song? Like, why? How come the
Rashid,
singer
you
the
was
singer
asking
doesn't know
white
the
boy
words?
questions.
I was straight up white boy questions. I was like, how come the singer doesn't know the words and he's singing this part off key? And I just did not
Oh
understand
my
at
God.
all. I was
I would
so
have loved to
confused.
be in that ride. And listen, just knowing you, Malachai, watching
But
their face, watching you ask them questions, I'd have been in there crying like I am
it
right
was
now.
it was it was funny. But then
I'm sorry. Continue, sir. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. So I ended up playing my first show with them, but I had come from playing classical guitar, not like rock guitar. I mean, later on I had played like a funk band or like a punk band or whatever, but I was mainly I was really a classical guitar player. And when you play classical guitar, you sit down. You don't stand up. You sit down and you put the guitar on one knee and you hold the neck up like this and you play like this. So that's
Mm.
what
Almost
at
like
the
a
first
cello.
kind of not as far up as a cello, not vertical, but kind of tilted a little bit. So so I played the whole first show sitting down, um, and it was at Stanton Center, and which is funny because all of the shows at the Stanton Center, which come into play later, were run by my now wife's aunt, Miss Sally. So it all comes back around in a circle. But
We love you.
thank you. Love y'all too. Um, I don't remember who it was, but as I was standing out in the crowd, like, because we opened for somebody, so like after our part was over, I stayed and watched the other band, and somebody, um, who I don't remember who, started taking her clothes off, and I was like, okay, I've never really seen this before. Like, I mean, of course, I've seen. I mean, that's not totally true because I went to like one of my first concerts was Poison. If you remember the band Poison,
Yes.
and it was at like RFK or Cap Center or something like that, and there was all these girls like sitting up on
Shoulders.
dudes shoulders showing their breasts and stuff.
Boo.
But this was a little different. This was like she's taking her pants, she's getting ass naked. And I was like, okay, sign me up. I'm here. And so then from then on out, I was just it was just go from then on out.
Listen, Shantae, if you're listening, sis, if
She's
you
not.
watch this in the rewind, it was
She
all for you,
knows.
baby. It was all
She
for
know.
you, baby.
But no, it definitely wasn't her. I can guarantee you, she's never
No,
done
no,
that.
I'm
But
just
no,
saying it all
yeah,
equaled out to it working out for her in the end.
yeah.
Yes, because that's where
Um,
I don't know if that's where your love for chocolate came in, but we are glad to have you at the cookout, brother. We are glad to
you
have you.
know, it's funny because I never even like my family like it was never even really a conversation. Like there was never like I didn't even really know what racism was until like sixth grade, and I remember because me and Fudd were best friends growing up. You know, I would go down to his house down around along the bay, and we would ride the four wheelers and stuff.
Yeah, you
They had
didn't
a lot.
see struggle down there. You didn't see struggle on the bay.
Right. Well, and they had a lot more money than my family did. So,
No, I'm just saying. That's what I'm saying. You didn't see
yeah,
the struggle.
No, you're right. You're right. But I remember I had a birthday party. When we used to live down Spa Cove because I went to Montessori through second grade, and my father at the time was a professor, an architecture professor at University of Maryland. So at that time we had a little bit of chicken. So then I went to Key School in Hillsmere, which is another private school, which that's where I met Fudd and his older sister India. And that's also where I met a different Mark Jones, who also played keyboards for Occupation, but was not the same Mark that played keyboards for Occupation that got me in the band that I just talked about. Um, but then I went from Key School. I moved from living with my father and stepmother to living with my mother, which was like a whole different situation. So we lived down Spa Cove, and I went from Key School to Tyler Heights. So Robinwood, Eastport, you know what I'm saying?
Different.
A whole different situation. Yeah. So I'm trying to remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so I went to Tyler Heights and then went from there to Annapolis Junior High, which it was still called when I was there, which I guess is when we met.
When we was there.
Yeah, and then it changed to Annapolis Middle the year after. But I had gone to Bates by that time, and then yeah. So I don't know. I was going through that story for a reason, but I forgot what it was. So go ahead.
No, because we were just getting to the root of how you started out with GoGo.
Oh yeah.
Yes, you made your point with that.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
We're not going to negate anything that you said. You made your point.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yes. We were still on the same street with you, bro. We were still on the same street.
Sounds good. Sorry, my short-term memory has been slightly affected by my current health condition. So sorry about that.
You do not have to apologize. Again, just the fact that you are up to it and willing to do this interview today is a blessing within itself, sir. And I'm gonna be wholehearted with that. So everybody not used to me being nice. Look, everybody not used to me being nice. Man, I was like, damn, you know,
that's all right.
I'm not feeling well. I'm like, fuck you and your sickness. You know?
Well,
no, you might be though.
Yeah, it's a little bit more than not feeling well, but I appreciate it. It's all good. But you can cuss me out if you're going to. It's fine. It'll be like old time.
Yeah, normalcy.
Yeah, right.
Normalcy. Right. But no, okay, so we got you at the GoGo with the occupation. So now things are progressing. You're wound up with Northeast Groovers.
Yeah, so occupation, I think I played in until about 97, maybe. That's also when I promoted my first show and got my taste of kind of like putting on shows and events and stuff. I did a Peace in the Streets jam at Columbian Center on Ritchie Highway, and I made $600, and I thought I was a millionaire. And but then I ended up leaving. Well, I guess I skipped up ahead a little bit, because right after high school I went to Montana. My father had moved from teaching at University of Maryland to teaching at Montana State University, and so I went out there because he could put me on his taxes a year before, and I could be a resident and go to school for cheap because we couldn't afford anything else. So, because Montana State doesn't pay as well as University of Maryland does. So I went to college in Montana for a year, and I hated it. And like, it's cold as shit, and there's more cows than people. And I didn't like it at all. But funny enough, I got on the radio station out there, and it was a college radio station, but it was like a public station as well. So I had a little bit of a further reach than just a regular college radio station. And I found a Trouble Funk vinyl record in their like record room. It was crazy. And then they still had vinyl at the time. It was still like, it was dying out, but it was still kind of a thing. And so I started playing GoGo. Like my intro song was, you remember that song, Test Me by Intimate Groove? They want to test me, try me, but trust me, you're going to catch a beat down. That was I had a instrumental version of that on vinyl record. And that would be my intro song every night. But then I just started playing GoGo all the time. Anyway, but then I came back because I was like, I hate it here. It's cold. There's too many fucking cowboys and shit. Get me out of here. I mean, I'm exaggerating slightly, because where I was at, Bozeman, it's not really that bad. Like where I was,
but it was to you. It was to you.
But yeah, compared to what I grew up when,
that's your truth.
yeah, as I'm older now, I realize like it's kind of like not really like that. You know, it's not like I was in the sticks or anything. You know what I'm saying? It's like a nice little town, like celebrities live there, and like shit like that. But at the time, I was just like, man, fuck this. So I came back. I started playing for Occupation again because Ice had convinced me that the music department at Morgan State was really good. So, which I found out after I came back and went to Morgan State that the music department was shitty. The choir was good. The choir was good,
Oh, but
but
the department was trash.
the department was trash. I was a classical guitar major, which I had also been in my first year in Montana State. Um, but they had all these little keyboard rooms, and like the pianos were from like the 50s and the keys were falling off. It was just shit. So anyway, so I went to Morgan for a year, and things kind of get a little fuzzy. I can't really remember because I went to Morgan twice and I went to Montana State University twice, and I never graduated either place. So all of it just kind of blurs together. I can't really remember the exact dates and stuff like that. But while I was in Montana the second time, I kept in touch with Rio Edwards. Rio is known for a few things. One is he owned the sound systems that all the bigger go-go bands played on. Like when Northeast Groovers played or Junkyard played or whoever, they were playing on Rio's system. Also, he had a recording studio where he recorded all of the most famous albums, like Northeast Groovers, Straight from the Basement, Junkyard, Go Hard, Backyard, Skillet. I can't remember. I mean, there's a combination of live recordings and also studio recordings on all of those albums, I think, but most of it was recorded at his studio. At the Stanton Center, I had met, I think it was T-Bone, who was setting up a system for Rio. And I somehow got to talking to him, and he like linked me up with Rio. And T-Bone, if for anybody that doesn't know, they used to set up systems for Rio. Prior to that, was the percussionist for Trouble Funk. So Eddie, E flat, Boogie, Pump Me Up, Drop the Bomb, all of that. That's T-Bone playing on all of those records. So he's like toured around the world with Trouble Funk and stuff, but he was setting up speakers for Rio at the time. And anyway, that kind of linked me up with Rio. I kind of befriended Rio. Occupation went into his studio and recorded one thing. I don't remember exactly what happened. We didn't put it out for some reason. Something didn't go right or something. I can't remember. But in any event, I became friends with Rio. And while I was in Montana, I was so super bored out of my mind. This was before like cell phones and stuff, So I would just call people from back home and talk to them. And I will say, very few people from Occupation ever called me to see how I was doing all the way across the country. So fuck y'all for that. But two people that called me were E, the lead talker from OP Tribe, because he was an Occupation fan. And that first show that I told you I did at Columbian Center was Occupation and Optimistic Tribe, OP Tribe, and
I believe I was there at that
one. What I forget what Chad's band was called at the time, Total Dimension, and they opened up. So, so we were friends, and he would call me, but Rio and I would talk a lot, and he started to like get the impression that I was a little different than your average go-go person. Yeah, I mean, obviously he knew I was white, but and so we just kind of connected that way, and I decided to leave again because I was like, man, I can't do it out here again. Like, so he was like, well, Northeast Groovers is looking for a guitar player. And he was like, would you want to do that? I was like, hell yeah. So he put me in touch with Miss Pratt. And I was like, I remember asking her, did she want me to like send her some recordings of me playing or something? And she was like, nah, baby, if Rio says you good, then you good. So, so I was like, okay, well, I'm moving home. Should I, is there a rehearsal I should come to or something? And she was like, nah, we don't rehearse. Just come to the Icebox on Saturday. So I drove all the way across country in a U-Haul truck by myself with that big ass brown car that you saw on a trailer on the back. That's one of the 4 times I think that I've driven across country by myself. I think I've driven across with other people 2 more times. But so me and Ice went. Ice went with me because I was like, man, I'm not going to this shit by myself. So it was at the Ice Box. For anyone that doesn't know, it used to be called the Zulu Cave, and it was called the Scene after that. Is a big ass venue. I think it holds like 1,500 people or something like that. And Northeast Groovers played there every Saturday. And so that's what where my audition was in front of a billion people, scared out of my fucking mind. And in DC. And I remember there was like a little 4 or 5 little steps that led up to the stage. And I was walking up the steps, and rapper Chris, the lead vocalist from Northeast Groovers, was walking down. He's like, hey, what's your name, man? I'm like, Malachai. And he's like, can I just call you Reds? I was like, he's like, man, I'm not trying to pronounce that shit on the microphone every night. So I was like, yeah. So from that's where I mean, surprisingly that late in life, and I've been a redhead my whole life, and he's the first person that called me Reds. But so that was it. So I just got up and just played, and just, what key is this in? Okay, what key is that in? And I just played along, and I had a pretty good chuck from playing with Occupation, and that's really all people care about for guitar players in GoGo, or at least back then, was can you chuck and make that sound? You know, because the guitar was more of a percussion instrument in GoGo at that time. So that was the start of me playing with Northeast Groovers.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, because I listen, been a fan, musical journey since the beginning. So now, life is lifing. So life is lifing. So decided Groovers no more, and then there's Mumbo sauce, my favorite sauce in the city.
Well, Northeast Groovers originally, it wasn't my choice to leave Northeast Groovers. It was like rapper left, and then we auditioned a few replacements for him. One of whom I brought to the table, which was General Lee, who is the lead talker from Occupation. And I remember that I think it was the same day Chia Lee and General Lee auditioned on the same day, and Chia Lee, who was great and a good friend of mine, he's dope, really creative, but he just kept saying, well, I'm not really familiar with these grooves. So he kind of like choked up a little bit, but Lee didn't know the shit either, but he just was like, fuck it, and just started talking shit and saying slick shit on the microphone. And Hug was like, man, I just want somebody that's just going to do that. Like, I mean, even if he doesn't know it, just run with it. So Lee played with the band for a little while, but then I don't remember exactly the circumstances. I remember Stomp has something to do with it, because it was like right at the start of the Grown and Sexy movement. And I remember that Stomp was so excited that like you could go to see Mice and the Hip Huggers or something like that, and they would have a buffet. And he was like, man, they have meatballs and green beans and everything. Like, of course, Stomp was excited about the food. So, but I'm pretty sure it was Dig Dug who was kind of the engine behind it. So basically, Northeast Groovers, when Rapper left, Lee was there. We still kept playing, but then they wanted to start solo, which was the Grown and Sexy version of Northeast Groovers. Essentially, it was the same exact band, but we just played music, instead of just cranking all night.
Right. I didn't mean to forget that intricate part. That was the cool. Like segue to the Mumbo sauce. So
no, it's fine. Like, it wasn't like a huge thing or anything, but I'm just saying that it wasn't I didn't just like quit Northeast to start Mumbo sauce. It was like the solo thing happened. I mean, there's a long story there, but anyway, long story short, I Solo was a cover band. And I was like, I never signed up to be in a cover band. I don't want to just be playing other people's music all this time. You know what I'm saying? So I left and moved to Vegas because I had a friend that I went to college with in Montana who had gone to Vegas and was working on film stuff. And I just went out to visit him for a weekend, and he was shooting a commercial with this company he was working for, and they hired me to be a continuity coordinator, meaning watch while they're shooting this scene, and if this glass or this lamp or something is in a different space than it was the last time they cut the scene, you need to make sure it's in the same place so it all looks like it's one thing. You know what I mean? And so there are people on sets that do that just to make sure. And like sometimes you might watch a show or something and realize that, hey, that wasn't it, or he had a different color pants on in the last scene, but it's supposed to be the same day or same time or whatever. That means their continuity director's fucking up. So anyway, so I did that for like a day. And remember I said I did a whole show with 3 different GoGo bands, made $600 and thought I was rich. So I made $400 being this continuity coordinator, basically just sitting there doing nothing, just looking. And I was like, oh, this is pretty fucking cool. And so I ended up leaving Solo, moving to Vegas, trying to start a company with my friend. That kind of didn't work out. And so I started working at a radio station out there as the promotions manager. And I lived in Vegas for about a year doing that. And then I came to LA to go to a conference about how to start a record label. And I think the reason I had started that was because of GoGo, because I was just like, why was it that Puffy? And I mean, you know, this was before all the Diddy shit, but like, how is it that Puffy and all these people like in the industry know about GoGo, but nobody is doing anything with it? Like, it's just like still just in a little dirty club in Southeast. Yeah. You know, and so I, you know, like I had always sort of been interested more in the business of music than actually playing music. But so I had already been reading a bunch of books and stuff like that. So anyway, so I was just like, okay, I'm going to go to this record label thing. So I went to the record label conference, and I stayed with my great aunt who lived in Pasadena, California, not Pasadena, Maryland. And I just fell in love with LA. I was like, yo, this is it. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is the shit. It was like, because I remember by this time I had lived in Montana, which is cold as fuck, like 30 below zero sometimes. Your nose hairs freeze up. I had lived in Vegas, which was hot as fuck, like 120 degrees all the time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, right. And then, well, no, it's cold at night. It's hot in the day, but in the desert, it's cold as shit at night. So when I went to LA and it was like 75, 80 degrees the whole time, I was like, yeah, this is it. You know, like this
everything is mellow.
Right. And then, I mean, it was the weather for one, but then it was also like, I want to be in the real music business. And so anyway, so I moved to Vegas for about a year, and I couldn't get a job doing anything. Not even delivering pizzas, which you may or may not remember, but I used to work for Pizza and Taco Express for many, many years in Annapolis, delivering pizzas.
No, that's gay.
Yeah, well, even before that, when it was in Hillsmere, Bay Ridge area, I started there. That was my first real job when I was like 14 years old. And I just kind of kept, like, every time I would come back from school or whatever, like I would work there for Christmas break or whatever, just to make a little money. But anyway, I couldn't even get a job delivering pizzas out here because it was like right before they recalled the governor and put Arnold Schwarzenegger in. So it was like the worst job market in America. It was terrible. Like nobody could get a job doing anything. So, but I had interviewed with a guy that I met while I was at the radio station in Vegas, because we did an event with Music Soul Child. You remember him? Like the singer. And this guy was on Def Jam at the time, and this guy was his record rep, which is the people that go to the different radio stations and stuff with the artists, and you know, they might do an event or something with the radio station. Well, we did an event with him at the station, and I kind of befriended his record rep, who worked at Def Jam at the time. Come to find out, he is Lear Cohen's brother.
Mm.
And I interviewed with him. This was before Damon Dash started calling Leo a culture vulture, because he's really not, but whatever. Anyway, I interviewed with this guy for an assistant position at Def Jam. I had Northeast Groovers on my resume because I didn't have anything else.
Right.
He was like, "You played in the GoGo band?" I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "My brother, my other brother, his younger brother, who played bass, who plays in like a big rock band. I think it's Hole. It's either Hole or Garbage. I can't remember which one, but anyway, it's a major band. But he was like, he had a band back in like the 80s, and they played like some go-go stuff, and I had quit Def Jam and started my own independent record label and was putting their stuff out. He's like, I love go-go. So we had this,
Oh.
we built this whole connection off of go-go. But I didn't get the job because he was like, it's the worst job market in America, and people that have had positions higher than this are applying for the same position. But he took me out to lunch and everything, and he's still my friend now. Like I just talked to him the other day. But for years, I was sending him packages, like care packages of go-go CDs. And like that was how our friend, because this was obviously before you could just email a song or whatever. Like I would go
or download it. Right.
right. I would get CDs, I would put them in a big ass envelope, and I would mail them to him physically. And that's our relationship just stayed that way for you. And anytime I would come out to visit LA or whatever, we would get up and have lunch or whatever. But I was just like, so leading into the Mambo Sauce thing, sorry to take so long, but I came back to Maryland because I was like, remember I was thinking about how do all these industry people know about go-go, but they're not doing anything with it. I wasn't really sophisticated enough to know at the time why, but I was starting to like uncover things. And then after meeting with him and having that whole interchange, I was like, this is a middle-aged Jewish guy from the Los Angeles. He's not from DC or New York, even New York or anything. Right. He's from LA. Now, granted, Mahdi, his name is Mahdi. He has a different last name than Lear Cohen, but he and Russell Simmons, and they all used to live together in New York at the height of Def Jam, back when Junkyard was signed, Sardines and all that. So he kind of knew about.
The only go-go band ever signed at one point.
Yep, absolutely. So obviously, all of this is before the. It's crazy how all of our heroes get torn down, but like this is before the Russell Simmons controversy and all. This was like the 80s. Yeah. So, but anyway, I was like, okay, so if this middle-aged Jewish guy from LA loves go-go, there's got to be other people in the world besides these little 3,000 people in the DMV that like it, so it's kind of sort of became my mission to expose it to the world. So I started to hatch that plan in Vegas, and then in LA started to form it up a little bit more. And I decided to move back home. And thank you again. Always love to my closest friend, Ice. I didn't have anywhere to stay because my mother had moved, I think. I don't remember what, but I didn't have anywhere to stay when I came back. So Ice was living with Pooh at the time. He was like, well, you can stay with us. So I drove all the way back home. And I remember that this was the U-Haul with the big brown car in the back, I think. Yeah, and I drove all the way back home. And, I think I'm confusing stuff too, because there's the coming back from Montana story, and then there's the coming back from LA story. So the LA time was not in the U-Haul truck. The LA time was I had bought a 1987 Nissan 300ZX in Las Vegas for $1,500 from this old white lady. I'm like, yeah, she doesn't know how cool this car is, like where I'm from. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it had the fucking gold wing
T-top.
T-tops and shit. Yeah, man. Like the only problem was it had like a little bit of gray primer on the front, which kind of fucked it up a little bit, but it was still fly as shit. Anyway, that's what I was driving the whole time I was in Vegas and when I was in LA. So I put a U-Haul trailer on the back of that joint, and that's what I drove back home. And I remember that when I got back to Annapolis, it was like super late at night, and I may be confusing two different times, but I remember whatever I was in, I slept in the True Value hardware store parking lot, the one down Bay Ridge, because I had gotten back. I got back too late to stay with whoever I was going to stay with, and my father actually designed that building, so I kind of, I knew it was going to be safe for me to sleep there. Anyway, in a car, So anyway, because wasn't nothing dangerous going on in Annapolis Woods at that time anyway. You know what I'm saying? It was all the single moms living down there at that time anyway. So I would
wasn't no thuggery.
Right, exactly. So anyway, so Ice and Pooh very graciously let me stay with them for a while. And that's when I started putting Mambo Sauce together. People think, and I'm really surprised to hear that a friend of mine that used to set up our equipment for Northeast Groovers and now is part of the management team of Backyard did not realize that Mambo Sauce was the whole concept of Mambo Sauce was different than any other go-go band. Like it was not just, some people think it was just like, oh, we just started a go-go band and did a cool song and got lucky. Like, no, this was I had this was like before the internet and shit really was popping. So I had like like one of those foam core boards, they used to do like science projects on and shit. It would be like that thick. And I had like posted all these like PowerPoint type thing. Like I printed out all these pages with all these flow charts and like, it's going to be a record label and this is going to be, like it was very well planned out. Like we're going to sell T-shirts and blah, blah, all this stuff, So it was a totally pre-planned situation with Mambo Sauce, and I started Mambo Sauce in like 2003, and I think we put our first single out in like 2004, but at the time it didn't have a name yet, so I had CD stickers printed up that said the band with no name. And that's what I would go around promoting the song with. And then 2005, we put out another 2 singles, Damn Joe and Go. They were on the same CD. And that was the first time we had a name that, it said the name on the CD. And I've told that story about how we came up with the name a million times, so I'm sure you can find it somewhere. But it's on my Instagram, actually, I think. But
I want to know how you met my cousin Twink.
How did I meet Twink? Twink played in solos. That's further back. So before I even went to Vegas, Twink, I don't remember who brought her in the band. But it's funny because say again.
I said with her little short self.
Yeah, I forgot that was your cousin. But
I'm deep in go-go, my boy.
But yeah, it kind of actually, me playing a solo with Twink, I feel like sort of caused some issues later on with Mambo Sauce, because I think in her mind, like she still just knew me as the guitar player from solo. So like, why are you telling me what to do? Like, because this is my band. Like, this is different. And she was kind of a little bit antagonistic at times. And it was difficult for me to deal with, because I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, if I argue with this little tiny woman and lose, then I'm a sucker. If I argue with this little tiny woman and win, then I'm an asshole for arguing with the little tiny woman. You know what I'm saying? So it was just a lose-lose situation. So,
Oh.
but everything's cool now. Like, I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
like a beef or anything like that. It was just made.
Yeah. It was just an artistic difference. That's all. It was just,
Well, it
a
was more
power
of a business.
struggle.
It was a business difference. It was, and that
Right.
was one of about 30 things that and that I made me decide to leave Mambo Sauce at the height of
Okay.
our
But
success. You know.
Welcome to DC is definitely an anthem. And you can't think about DC now and not think about that song.
Well, you know what
And
the
I'm gonna be
funny,
honest.
you know what the funny thing is? Well, two funny things. One is the basic chord structure of that song came from a song that I wrote for Occupation called Mo Thugs. If you remember that one, Mo Thugs, Mo Thugs, Mo Thugs. Uh,
Literally have flashbacks.
it
We got on
happens to
Big
be. It
Center. Let's
happens.
go.
It happens to be on the greatest hits of Occupation
The
album
link you sent me, I listened to everything.
yeah, yep.
I
Well,
listened to everything.
if you listen to Mo Thug, that is from January 25th, 1997 at Annapolis Gardens
Right.
rec. Yeah, I was gonna say club, but I couldn't remember what it's called. But yeah,
It was a rec. It
so
was a rec.
yeah, so the notes that I'm using for that chord, boom, 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 correlate to Welcome to DC. Boom, down, down. And me and keyboard Chris, Lamoria's little brother, were fucking around with that song, just reminiscing at Occupation rehearsal. I'm sorry, at Mambo Sauce rehearsal. And we just came up with it right then and there. Like, that's how Mambo Sauce was intentionally an extremely creative band. Like, we would just sit in rehearsal, and Chris is one of the best composer producers out of the DMV period ever. And we would just fuck around with shit and just make shit up, and then Black would just go out, listen to what we were doing, write an idea, and then just come back in, and we would just keep woodshedding on it. Like, funny enough, because we actually practiced in the woodshed in Kyrie's backyard. But yeah, so it's funny that the sort of inspiration for Welcome to DC kind of came from an Occupation song. And it's even fun. The second thing that's funny about it is that the two main composers of that song and the originators of Welcome to DC are both from Annapolis. So yeah, take that, you DC snobs.
Yeah, from one capital to another.
Yeah, exactly.
From the nation's capital to the state's capital.
Right. That's funny. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
but
so
yeah,
now
yes.
we're fast forwarding.
Okay.
As far as your career, we got Crank Caviar now. Yes, I attend Crank Caviars. So let's get into that. We have probably about 10 minutes. So
okay.
5
So
of them, you go ahead
speed it
and
up,
give all your
Malachi.
info.
Gotcha. Well, this is thankfully a shorter story. So Crank Caviar was basically like me saying, okay, what's all the shit that went wrong in every other thing that I've done? Let me do the opposite. So putting a band together and creating a successful band is a very difficult situation. It's extremely difficult, and especially with like things like the GoGo report and other things like that, where you got a bunch of essentially fans thinking that they know how the business works and not understanding that they're not even scratching the surface of how difficult this shit is. So with Crank Caviar, the reason it's a rotating band is because specifically in GoGo, like, you have a lot of very unprofessional, not career artists, musicians. They're just people that have a regular 9 to 5, and they might play this, play as a hobby or whatever, but they have unrealistic expectations about how much they should be paid, how much they're worth, whatever. So I was just like, okay, so with Crank Caviar, I'm just going to take only the best players that that have at least somewhat of a realistic view on how the industry works. But then if this person, and I'm not just talking about money, I'm just talking about being on time, coming to rehearsal, all these kinds of things. Rotate about, because there's a band called Scary Pockets that I modeled Crank Caviar after. And Scary Pockets is basically like a bunch of really like high level professional musicians, studio musicians, and touring musicians that play with like Ariana Grande and John Mayer and John Legend and shit like that. And they come together and they do funk versions of popular songs. So they'll do like AC/DC, Back in Black, but a funk version with a young girl that can really sing her ass off. So it's like super high quality musicianship. But and I was just like, remember back to riding in the car, not understanding the concept of go-go yet, being like, why is a guy singing off key? And this is stuff that I hear from a bunch of people that don't like go-go, that are like, it's the same song for 30 minutes. It's the people can't sing and blah blah blah. So I'm like, okay, let me try to fix as many of those problems as I can. In my opinion, the definition of go-go is the percussion. A lot of people argue with that and say that you could do go-go without the congos, and I don't agree with that. Like, that's what it is. That's what makes it different.
If there's no congos, it's not go-go to me.
Exactly. So I wasn't going to let that part go, but I wanted to make sure that the songs were not 20 minutes long, and that they're produced well, and the videos are done well, and the singers can sing, and the agenda behind it, from me, is the same as it was with Mama Sauce, but just from a different perspective, is to bring in, especially now that the younger generation of go-go fans is not, the younger generation in the DMV doesn't give a shit about go-go. So to me, that means we got to go outside of the younger generation in the DMV to find new go-go fans. So that's what Crank Caviar is supposed to do. It's like, oh, I'm looking up Phil Collins in the Air Tonight on YouTube because I want to watch the video, but then I might accidentally run across the Crank Caviar version and be like, oh shit, this is tight. Like, so yeah, so that's the idea behind Crank Caviar, and to be able to move around. You know what I'm saying? So like, we've done one of the first shows we did was South by Southwest, which is a huge festival in Austin, Texas, that they do every year. It's not like a big festival, like everybody's on one big stage, but they just take over the whole town and have like every venue in the whole city just has a South by Southwest event going on. Yeah. So that one, it was, because the lineup always changes. That was Stomp Dog, Smoke, Jarrell on bass, Anthony that used to play with Black Alley on guitar, Lil Chris from T.O.B. on vocals, Jata, who now plays with T.O.B. on vocals, Scooby on vocals and guitar, Wincy and Big G from Backyard, and Rapper from Northeast Groovers, and Keyboard Chris, of course, as always. So it was like the super all-star go-go band of all time. We did that. It's kind of hard to replicate that because it's really expensive. But then earlier this year, I brought a lineup out for, well, I think I can talk about it now, but even before that, we did a private party at Stevie Wonder's house for his wife's birthday, because his wife is from like Northern Virginia or something. So yeah, it was crazy. It was Stomp and Smoke. My homegirl Cy Smith that lives out here, she used to sing background for Whitney Houston and Shaka Khan and shit. But she's from home. She's from DC. She used to sing in a go-go band like way back in the day. And so we did that at his house, and that was dope. And then I had Cy Smith and Lil Chris from T.O.B. and Stomp and Spook from New Impressions. And my friend Drew, who plays guitar, that lives out here. He's from Baltimore, but so he's hip to go-go, but he plays now with Miguel and produces with Miguel, and also Vic Mensa, the rapper Vic Mensa. So anyway, so it's all like high level musicianship, and so we came out here and did a Grammy did a GoGo during Grammy weekend. So that the idea is to have because I have a rotating cast, like, and it's always a different band. I can have two musicians that live in LA that fuck with GoGo, and then fly the rest of the guys out here, and it's cheaper than trying to move a 14-piece band. You know what I mean? So,
Right,
uh,
right.
and because the nature of the band is that it's always different people, like the expectation of seeing this person or that person is not quite as high. And then because the level of musicianship is so high, like pretty much any female singer that sings with or male singer that sings with Crank Caviar can sing any of the songs that we put out. You know
Miss
what I
Kim
mean?
gets busy. Miss
Yeah,
Kim gets busy.
yeah. So yeah,
Shout out to her.
yeah. So we so it's still growing. Like, I mean, really, the band is only a little bit over a year old. So we're doing Broccoli City Fest at the end of this month. September, we're doing the Washington State Fair outside of Seattle, which is like the fourth biggest fair in America. You know what I mean? So it's move, even though like it's not like the goal of Crank Caviar is never to play at Aqua every Friday night. Like that's just I
Right,
don't
right, right. It's
yeah
to expand.
I don't do that type of shit. So and some people in GoGo think that that's what you have to do to be a successful GoGo band, but like that's not what I'm doing. So yeah, it's not what I'm
Times
doing.
have changed.
Yeah,
Times have changed.
exactly, exactly.
So let
But
everybody
yes.
know where to find Crank Caviar, the website, give your information,
Mhm.
because we want everybody to stay in the go-go land. We love go-go. We love
Yes,
it.
thank you. Yeah, you
We
can
love
find
it.
the band at just crankcaviar.com. And I think I'm pretty sure all of the socials are attached there. But it's also just at Crank Caviar on Instagram and also YouTube. Like, I don't know why YouTube started adding a little at symbol now, but yeah, I just put it in the and did I put it in the right one? I don't know if that's the private or the. Oh yeah, I put it in the private chat. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Um,
well, go to the live. And you can put it on the live. Yeah. Let me see.
oh, I see. Because I thought I could do it just like within
Yeah, because I was trying
StreamYard.
to. Yeah, I was trying to actually put it in the. I don't know why I did this. Oh, comments. I was in the wrong section. And let me see if I can put it in there. I should be able to put it in there.
Okay, yeah, I was trying also, but I put it in a private chat by accident. But then when I went to comments, it made me log in with YouTube. But
All right,
yeah,
and
so
it's there. You go. You put it in
yeah,
there.
yeah, I just did it, but I had to log into YouTube in order to do it. So, but it's
Oh,
cool. I got it.
okay.
Yeah, so crank.
Cool.
So yeah, you can pretty much find everything at Crank Caviar, and it'll like take you. You can look at the like just click on the videos. It'll take you to YouTube with all the videos and blah blah blah. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on.
Yes. Well, it is definitely a pleasure. We don't see each other
Likewise.
often. It's been a while, but it's good to see you. I mean, we're not face to face, but yes, I do plan on coming to the West Coast sometime in my life. So I'm definitely gonna hit you and the wife up and let y'all know when me and C. Allen is on the West.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, tell my brother I said what's up. Um,
I definitely will.
I'm trying to remember. I think we were, all three of us were in Miss Winegrad's class together, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure it was me and
Do
Cal,
you
but I can't
know
remember.
my fondest memory of us three? You ready?
Yes.
Prom. You went to the car to go get the electric relaxation CD.
And did I have the DJ play it or something? Probably.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's funny.
Because you was complaining about the music. You was like, man, I got that tribe in the car. I'm ready to go get that tribe. Man, I was like, go get it, go get it. And you came back and put that joint on, and I swear I cannot listen to that song and not think about you.
That is funny. That is funny, man. I wish
My
I
man Rashidi.
I wish my memory was better, but I just, you know,
It's
considering.
okay. It's okay. I have the
But
memory. It works for me.
that's what's up.
It works
That's
for
what's
me.
up.
All right.
I
Well,
appreciate
we
that.
love you, Mr. Johns, and keep
Love you
cranking the
too.
caviar. And always a pleasure. And always keep in touch. And you're always welcome to come back. So we definitely want to stay up on anything that you're doing musically, and we want to support.
For sure. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you guys coming out to the casino. I don't know if we're gonna keep doing that or not, but I appreciate it nonetheless. And hey, Tamiko, if I didn't already say so. Um, but yeah, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. Good time.
All right.
All
Love
right.
you.
Good.
Mwah.
Love you too. Bye bye.
Bye. As y'all see, my man's Malachi Johns, aka Codename Rashidi, my man Reds. He's big in the go-go world and got love for him. And that's our interview for today at Brick House Radio Live. I appreciate y'all for showing up and showing out. And we will see you guys next Saturday, regular time, regular bad channel. And make sure y'all go to crankcaviar.com. Check out my man Malachi Johns and the Crank Caviar. All right. See y'all next week. And I'm here for the likes. And I'm not here for the likes. I'm here for the love. Camera.